Love like the falling petals, originally my dearest, like a cherry blossom or Sakura no Imnaboku no Kabido, with a magician's precision and a touch of serenity. The story, borrowed from the 2017 novel by Kai Sukiyama, chronicles a short-lived romance, with metaphors reminding us of adrift times. Haruto looks at the world through his camera lens, hoping to capture a passing moment. On the other end, Misaki struggles with a disease that accelerates time. Meanwhile, the cherry blossom season returns every year, reminding us of the transience nature of life. While the ending is saddening and emotional, you may want to revisit the finale. We shall get to the ending, but let us first recollect the roller coaster ride of love and heartbreak. Haruto Asakura, a photographer, clicks the photos of cherry blossom, thinking of a painful memory. He knows how much he hurt her, which takes the story to his past. After months of staying a monk, Haruto decides to finally give haircut a thought, which leads him to the Penny Lane barber shop with a coupon in his hand. In the able hands of Misaki, Haruto looks better than before. Although the haircut seems to be a bit uneven, looking at the happy face of Misaki, Haruto compliments her. As her first haircut, Haruto is a special customer for her, and he keeps revising the salon to catch a glimpse of her. Meanwhile, Misaki does not stop ranting about Haruto, the talented photographer to her family, comprising her brother and his partner Ayano. Haruto means to ask Misaki out on a date during a haircut, but before he can, an earlobe accident causes him to collapse. Misaki is duly apologetic, while she agrees to bear all the cost. They head to a hospital, which leads to exchanging numbers. Haruto finally speaks his mind on the phone, asking Misaki out on a date. Haruto is too formal, and they are in a posh restaurant, the kind of which he does not frequent. Later, Haruto finally comes clean that he is not a photographer, and Misaki expresses momentary anger about him falling short of pursuing his dream. Haruto ghosts her, only meeting after he rejoins the job at the studio. The romance deepens, but Misaki comes to know that she has a rare genetic condition. Her specific case is the fast-forward syndrome, where she would age way faster than an average person. After the revelation, Misaki pushes Haruto away while she counts her days for the coming spring. What is Progeroid syndrome? What is fast-forward syndrome? Shortly after turning 25, Misaki sees her hair turning gray. While her colleague thinks it's probably the stress, she naturally suspects something. Misaki heads to the doctor with her brother, who states that she is suffering an onset of the Progeroid syndrome. The syndrome in question is a rare genetic disorder that makes life difficult for the patients. Progeroid, possibly derived from progeria, means resembling premature aging. The term classifies a broad range of diseases, and all of them arise from specific mutations within a single gene. Familial Alzheimer's disease and familial Parkinson's disease are two instances of rapid aging seen in older individuals, but they do not affect multiple tissues. Therefore, the coinage usually only refers to segmental progeria, when the aging permeates multiple or all tissues. When Misaki hears the description of the disease, neither she nor her brother can believe it. She thinks that the doctor is giving a hypothesis, to which the doctor replies that they need to do some tests. The test results come back, and the doctor is afraid that the situation is fast-forward syndrome, one of the rarest among the disease family. While further probing assures that the syndrome is fictional, the category of Progeroid syndrome duly exists in clinical pathology. The symptoms are similar to Werner syndrome, but the onset is much accelerated. In both cases, the disease accelerates aging and premature death. Misaki seems to be one of the unluckiest. What happens to Misaki and Haruto? Misaki's fate seems to be decided from the day of the diagnosis. However, the viewers still find it difficult to accept Misaki's fate, much like Misaki herself. Misaki's brother also does not give up on his sister, despite the rude practicality of his wife. Misaki goes through electromagnetic therapy, but the therapy turns out to be a fraud. After hearing the truth from an enraged customer, the brother turns to his senses. They have lost a lot of money, and the doctor previously said that there is no cure. Misaki undergoes a dramatic transformation, as she loses her hair and the skin wrinkles. After breaking up with Haruto, Misaki stays confined in her room, while the family struggles to cope with the inevitability. However, while on a trip, Misaki sees Haruto dismantling camera equipment, breaking in tears. Finally, Misaki agrees that she needs closure. Misaki's brother meets Haruto, tells him the whole story, and asks him to come to the house. Like old times, Haruto ends up outside the door, but now, Misaki does not let him enter the room. The small obstacle does not stop Haruto from bearing open his heart, who revisits their lingering moments. Haruto opens his first exhibition, Time and Space, inviting Misaki. Misaki holds onto her fleeting youth for one last time, visiting the exhibition despite her hesitation. Misaki looks at the photo of cherry blossom, and the metaphor of the falling petals comes back to the viewer's mind. Like flying petals, people attempt to capture love, but they only capture the moments. Misaki does not have the luck to survive the spring, and due to Misaki's wish, her brother does not inform Haruto during the cremation. She dies, leaving a trail of absence in Haruto's heart. He goes into depression, even turning suicidal. However, Ayano comes to save the ending with a posthumous letter from Misaki. Haruto's tears turn into laughter when Misaki stresses her love, divulging how glad she was for the earlobe incident. Haruto does not kill himself, while Misaki's memory stays in his heart for the rest of his springs. What is Misaki diagnosed with? Misaki has been diagnosed with Progeroid syndrome. This is a rare genetic disorder that essentially mimics physiological aging, making affected individuals appear a lot older than they are. For Misaki, there were some foreshadowed signs of this beforehand. Misaki complains about gray hairs to her hairdresser. She's also starting to become more frail, with her bones and muscles starting to grow weaker. Unfortunately for Misaki, she doesn't have long left before things begin rapidly accelerating. Not wanting to be a burden to Haruto, Misaki leaves in the morning after the pair make love. Misaki breaks her lover's heart, claiming she's back with her ex again, and she's in love with him. That's obviously false, given she's actually unable to bring herself to tell Haruto the truth and open up about her condition. And the next time we see her, Misaki has already aged a fair amount, with her hair coming out in clumps. Why is Takashi's relationship so strained? Misaki's brother, Takashi, postpones his wedding to look after Misaki as her condition worsens. This puts a burden on the family, and there's a fair amount of tension between Takashi and his partner. Not a lot of time passes, but already Misaki is struggling to walk. She's carried on Takashi's back while sporting sunglasses and a headscarf. At Christmas, Takashi has Misaki write a wish down to place inside a red sock. She writes, "I want my suffering to end." This is the wish she makes to herself. Her initial note though actually read that she wants to see Haruto, which Takashi decides to pursue for her. Takashi shows up to see Haruto and explains what Misaki has been diagnosed with and that her condition is getting really bad. Haruto shows up numerous times at Misaki's door to talk. She listens, he speaks. The pair try to rekindle what they had, but Misaki cannot bring herself to face him. It's pretty heartbreaking and foreshadows what's to pass. Do Haruto and Misaki meet up again? During Misaki's final moments, she heads out and tries to find Haruto at the studio. It's winter and bitterly cold. She's only got one more season left, but she's finally plucked up the courage to see her lover. After seeing his photographs printed out and blown up for all to see, Misaki writes Haruto a letter detailing her thoughts and how happy she is that he took up photography. However, he only reads this letter after meeting Misaki one last time. That final time is a bittersweet, heartbreaking encounter. Out in the snow, after Misaki's fruitless visit to the studio, she falls over from exhaustion. Haruto shows and helps her up, asking, "Are you okay, ma'am?" He doesn't recognize her. Misaki's final moments are tinged in sadness, but she at least gets to see Haruto one more time, even if he doesn't realize it. Does Haruto find the strength to carry on in life? When Haruto finds out what happened off the back of Misaki's cremation, he's understandably crushed. This is the last memory they share, but Misaki writes in her that he should share his photos for when they meet up together again in the next life. With this chapter of his life over for now, and Haruto deciding against committing suicide despite coming dangerously close with some scissors earlier on, Haruto heads back to work and doubles down on his photography. "We photographers can only find the answer through the viewfinder," his superior says, pointing out that those photos Haruto took at the exhibition, the ones taken to honor Misaki's memory, are what keeps him going. Haruto continues to struggle finding an answer and purpose to his life, but vows to remember Misaki's memory every spring just like the fallen petals. As the final credits roll, that overarching theme about photos being timeless rings true. We see all of this through black and white shots of their various hotspots together. Is there a post-credit sequence? Yes. Do not turn the film off too soon or you'll miss one important scene at the end. Here, we cut back in time to when Haruto snapped a photo of the Tokyo Tower for the first time. He was nudged by someone wearing red. After apologizing, this woman walks further into the crowd but looks back over her shoulder while handing out flyers. And that woman? None other than Misaki. It turns out Misaki actually knew Haruto before the hairdressers, and it seems fate has played a part in bringing the two characters together again. Perhaps they'll meet again in the next life after this one. Is Love Like the Falling Petals a true story? No, Love Like the Falling Petals is not based on a true story. Although emotionally fervent and saddening to the core, the story is mostly fictional. Yoshihiro Fukugawa directed the movie from a screenplay penned by Tomoko Yoshida, who previously worked on movies like Let Me Eat Your Pancreas and the TV show The Full Throttle Girl. The screenwriter borrowed the story from the best-selling novel Sakura no Yonaboku no Kabido by Kai Tsukayama. The novelist also writes for television shows and movies, including Hideki Takeuchi's fantasy romance venture Tonight at the Movies. After the publication of the novel on February 17, 2017, by Shueisha, it got recognition from national readers, thanks to the emotive story and grounded characters. While lending a look at a rare genetic disorder, the book also symbolizes love as transient and fickle as falling petals on a cherry blossom. Now, the Japanese culture has a special place for the cherry blossom season, or sakura, which stands as a metaphor for cyclical time and fleeting life. It is a time of renewal, and at the same time, you feel the burden of time on your shoulders. You can find the symbol of cherry blossom in the classics of Japanese national cinema. For example, the first story of Akira Kurosawa's Dreams weaves folklore closely related to the festive season. The passing of time is all the faster for Haruto Misaki, the protagonist of our tale, who is diagnosed with a rare genetic disorder that causes rapid aging. Although the story is fictional, Misaki's condition is based on an actual syndrome. Progeroid syndrome, as the doctors call it, is not one genetic condition, but rather a cluster of disorders that cause individuals to appear older than they are. Progeria, a condition where the patients age really fast, is a kind of PS, but it is not the only variant. From Werner's syndrome (WS) to xeroderma pigmentosa (XP), there are 6 major variants of the syndrome. While the condition depicted in the movie, fast-forward syndrome, is possibly fictional, Misaki's condition comes close to patients of Werner's syndrome. The mean age of the diagnosis of the condition is 24, and Misaki discovers her fate when she is 25. WS leads to premature graying of hair, hair fall, premature aging of the face, and wrinkling of the skin, much like what happens to Misaki towards the end. Moreover, the condition is malignant, meaning that it often leads to a severe worsening of health. However, people live much longer, up to around 50, than Misaki in the movie. Therefore, the story has some realism and a lot of heart, although Misaki's story is by no means the first cultural representation of the condition. David Fincher made The Curious Case of Benjamin Button from the eponymous short story by F. Scott Fitzgerald, which is thought to be one of the first literary representations of the syndrome. In 1996 coming-of-age comedy Jack Robin Williams plays a character diagnosed with Werner syndrome. 2006 Japanese movie Taiyu no Yuta reflects on a protagonist struggling with xeroderma pigmentosa, a condition where sunlight causes irreparable skin and tissue damage. 2018 silent hit Midnight Sun also chronicles the same condition. However, the endearing characters and the slow and dreamy visuals finally elevate the realism of the movie to another level, while the lens remains empathetic. Therefore, although the story is fictional, the premise is a reflection of. Thanks for listening. Ending explained. What did you think of the ending? Have we missed anything? Let us know your thoughts in the comments box.